Tyler Gilbert and my best friend Isabel Sanchez shared the same zodiac sign. The two of them always had this natural, effortless understanding. They were both top students. Their SAT scores landed at exactly the same near-perfect mark. They went to the same university, too. While I was at the school next door, and even seeing them once meant messaging ahead to book a time. Later, after graduation, I said I wanted to catch a midnight movie. The two of them said, in the same breath, that they'd already seen it. Then they started picking apart the details of the film, and I couldn't get a single word in. I sank into that hollow feeling, and Tyler reached over, touched my cheek, and said, "It's fine. You never really liked movies anyway. No point putting yourself through it just to fit in with us." And then Tyler decided to go abroad, and Isabel just happened to pick the same country. Watching the two of them lined up to even leave the country together, I offered to go abroad with Tyler. He turned me down with a frown. "Elaine Fox, this part was never in your life. You shouldn't change yourself for my sake." My eyes went red, and I lost it. "Then why does Isabel get to? You two are shut in a lab together every single day, eating together every day, laughing together. Why not me?" He let out a soft sigh. "Because that's the path she was always going to walk. But you're not. You shouldn't sacrifice so much of yourself just to keep pace with my life. That's not fair to you. And I couldn't carry that either." He was leaving in 3 days, and he didn't need me along. Watching him laugh with my best friend as they went over the details of their trip, I turned away and dialed someone else. "I broke up. Didn't you say you wanted to marry me?" On the other end, when Raymond Simmons took the call, he went quiet for a few seconds. He didn't ask why I'd broken up, and he didn't sound thrilled about marrying me. Instead, the first thing out of his mouth was, Did he hurt you? Tell me, if that Tyler kid dared to hurt you, I'll fly back right now and settle it with him." I looked up at the two of them, laughing away in front of me, and my mouth twisted into something bitter. No, there are just some things I've only now seen clearly. The wrong person is always the wrong person. I used to think that if I just tried hard enough, I could close the gap between us. One of them was my boyfriend, after all, and the other my best friend. They were my closest people, and even as they moved ahead, they'd be willing to bring me along. But the truth was always a little worse than what I imagined. They ran experiments together, with an endless supply of things to talk about. Every time I bounced up and invited them out for a spicy noodle hot pot, they'd both pinch their noses, thoroughly put off. "Elaine, only you would love something that reeks like that." So they'd leave me alone in the noodle shop, and go get a barbecue cookout next door instead. Most of the time when Tyler and I were together, he'd queue up a show for me and tuck me into the couch to watch it like a good girl, while he sat beside me, buried in his laptop, writing reports, working. We weren't like other couples with a bottomless well of things to say. Yet with Isabel it was somehow different. Whether it was serious conversation or just goofing around, the two of them could go all day without a break. Even for going abroad to study, they'd chosen the same country and bought tickets to leave on the same day. Every time, so perfectly in sync it was as if they'd planned it. Thinking back over all of it, I drew a breath and asked Raymond, "Firm now, I just want to ask you one thing. Do you still want to marry me?" My voice was thick and nasal when I asked him. "Elaine, are you crying?" Raymond went straight into a panic. "I'm still overseas right now, setting up a project. Wait for me. 2 days at the most, and I'll fly home to you." I gave a small laugh. "Okay." After I hung up, I looked up again, just in time to see Isabel tucking a half-folded umbrella into a suitcase. "Leave it, I'll do it." Tyler walked over on his own, folded it away for her without a second thought, and zipped the suitcase shut. "Don't worry about me. Go comfort Elaine." Isabel noticed me standing there in silence, and did her best to signal him with her eyes. "She couldn't come abroad with you in the first place. She's already upset. She's your girlfriend." Tyler gave me a cool glance. "It's fine. Elaine handles pressure well. She'll get over it on her own." Hearing that, I laughed. I wiped my tears, turned around, hailed a ride, and went home to pack. I was just hauling my bags, big and small, out the door for shipping when the door was pushed open. Tyler froze. Then he came over, frowning, and said to me, "Didn't I already tell you? I'm not letting you come abroad with me. You've got a good job here at home. You can't give up everything you have just because I'm your boyfriend. That isn't fair to you. And it's a lot of pressure on me too." I stopped packing, straightened up, and looked at Tyler. "I'm not going abroad with you." He stared at me, thrown. "Then what are you packing for?" I scoffed, clearing things out. "When something's no longer needed, you throw it out. I don't buy it." Tyler frowned, walked over, and picked up the shirt from my suitcase that I wore most often. "This is your favorite. How could you bear to throw it out?" He sighed, at a loss. "Elaine, can you not be like this? I told you, not letting you come abroad with me is for your own good. This job of yours pays well. Your parents are here at home. Running that far away from me, is it worth it?" Tyler had always been gentle with me before. Even the time I accidentally spilled coffee on his laptop, he had only smiled, indulgent, and said, "Leave it to me. I'll take care of it." It was only about coming abroad with him. On that, he pushed back hard. I looked at Tyler. "Then tell me, why is Isabel going to the exact same country as you?" Tyler froze for a second, then lifted his eyes to me. "It's just a coincidence. She has her own plans, and it just happens to be the same country I chose. With her major, the schools over there are good. Going will really help her." I laughed. "Her plans just happen to land on the country you're going to? Just happen to be the same city? Just happen to book the same flight? Tyler, do you believe that yourself?" Tyler didn't argue back. He only stared at me quietly, a flicker of impatience passing through his eyes. "Elaine, Isabel and I are just friends. Besides, weren't you the one who introduced her to me in the first place? She's your best friend, so I looked out for her a little more. That's all. We get along. We think alike. But that doesn't mean anything. If you insist on fixating on this, there's nothing I can do about it." I looked down and gave a small laugh, then pulled an old movie ticket out of my pocket. "So how do you explain this?" Tyler glanced at it, and his face shifted at once. "You went through my pockets." His hand came up on reflex to snatch it back, but I only stared at him, cold. "I said I wanted to see that movie. You and Isabel had already seen it. I told myself it was a coincidence, that the two of you just happened to have the same idea. It never crossed my mind that you were the one who asked her to go with you. Under what circumstances does a man skip over his own girlfriend to go see a movie alone with his girlfriend's best friend?" I couldn't think of one, but once he was caught, there was no panic on his face at all. His brows only knit tighter. "It was just one movie." "Yes, I asked Isabel to come. So what does that prove?" "Her advisor had assigned a reaction paper on that exact film. A friend had given me a ticket, so we went. It's that simple." I froze for a moment. Tyler, always so terse, never bothered with long-winded explanations like this, except when it came to Isabel. For her, he always made an exception. I had nothing left to say. I turned to leave, and he caught me by the wrist. "Elaine, can you please stop letting your your mind run wild? You're my girlfriend, your best friend, and I just share the same sign, that's all. So our personalities and ideas and interests happen to line up. At most she's a close friend, or another version of me. You're the only one I love. It won't be anyone else. My steps only paused for a beat, and I walked out anyway, without looking back. At the door I ran straight into Isabel, her face full of surprise. Elaine, it's so late. Where are you off to? My eyes dropped to the 2 cups of coffee in her hands. Starbucks. Most of the times I wasn't around, Isabel would bring 2, one for her and one for Tyler. Isabel, shouldn't I be the one asking you? It's this late. What are you doing at my place? I smiled, and took one of the cups from her hand. You brought me coffee, right? I'll take it. Hey, that one isn't for Isabel. Caught the look on Tyler's face, and shut her mouth instantly, forcing on a smile. Oh, Elaine, it's just a cup of coffee. Look at you, my little glutton, fighting your own boyfriend over it. I only figured you usually don't have to stay late running experiments, so I didn't get you any food. Since you want it, then this one of mine can go to Tyler. But she'd clearly already taken a sip from that cup straw, a faint trace of lipstick still on it. Tyler, who was always so particular, didn't mind in the least. He took it right from her. Thanks. Those experiment files you wanted. I'll send them to your email later. No rush. Isabel waved a hand, then turned and crouched down to pet the cat Tyler kept. The motion's easy, familiar, as though she were back in her own home, stroking her own pet. Tyler, why is your cat still so skinny? Didn't you feed it that cat food I bought last time? Tyler laughed too. Of course I did. It just won't put on weight. He leaned in toward her without thinking, and the 2 of them fell into their back and forth, and in an instant, I was air again. I lowered my head and gave a bitter, self-mocking little smile. So from the very beginning, I'd been this unnecessary. I didn't touch the coffee. You 2 keep it. You go on with your discussion. I won't be in the way. When they saw me pick up both suitcases and head for the door, Isabel hurried after me at once. Elaine, don't read too much into it. Tyler and I really are just friends. Are you still upset about the 2 of us going abroad together? If it bothers you, I can rebook my ticket and switch to a different city. She said it so understandingly, but Tyler cut in almost the instant she finished. There's no need to rebook. That's not what Elaine meant. Then he turned to look at me. Elaine, you know how it is. The city was locked in when we applied. Switching would be a huge hassle, and rebooking a flight is even more of a headache. I already told you, this whole thing is just a coincidence. You've always been so easygoing. You wouldn't get worked up over something this small, right? I looked at the 2 of them, one holding the coffee, one deflecting on her behalf. So in sync it was like they'd rehearsed it 100 times. I smiled. Tyler, you 2 really do suit each other. Same zodiac sign, matching personalities, even the same country to go abroad to. And more than that, you'd suit each other perfectly as boyfriend and girlfriend, too. But that last line I kept to myself. Tyler's face changed. Elaine, don't read too much into it. We've been together 3 years. Do you still not understand me? Even if you're angry, you can just say whatever's on your mind. There's no reason to drag out a suitcase and stage some big running away from home scene. I glanced down at the luggage in my hands. 3 years worth of my things were in this apartment. Too much to move in one trip. Before Tyler came back, I'd already had a moving van haul out a full load. These 2 suitcases were the last of it, headed to my parents' place. I'm not reading into anything, and I'm not running away from home. I told you, I'm just clearing things out. You go handle your business. Don't worry about me. Tyler still had his brow furrowed, one hand pressed flat on my suitcase. Elaine. I looked at his hand on my suitcase. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't try to pry it off gently. I simply said, move. Tyler stared at me. Elaine. Move. Something in my voice finally made him loosen his grip. I pulled the suitcase past him without another word. Behind me, Isabel looked between the 2 of us, clearly uncomfortable. Elaine, she called softly, don't leave angry. We'll all calm down and talk after Tyler gets back from abroad. I stopped at the doorway. Without turning around, I smiled faintly. There won't be an after. Then I left. The next morning, Tyler woke up to dozens of missed calls. Every one of them was from the moving company. Mr. Gilbert? The remaining belongings from your apartment have all been removed. Please confirm you've received the inventory. He frowned. Removed? He walked into the bedroom. The wardrobe that had always been stuffed with my dresses was half empty. The makeup lined up beside the mirror was gone. The slippers beside the bed were gone. Even the little cactus I'd insisted on buying because every home needs something alive had disappeared. Only then did Tyler finally realize. I hadn't been throwing away old clothes. I'd been moving out. His heart skipped. He immediately called me. The call connected. Elaine. I'm busy. When did you move everything out? Yesterday. Why didn't you tell me? I laughed. I did. I told you I was clearing things out. I just didn't think you were listening. There was a long silence. Finally he said quietly. Stop making trouble. I closed my eyes. Even now. He still thought I was throwing a tantrum. I'll be leaving in 2 days, he continued patiently. We'll talk when I come back. There won't be anything left to talk about. What do you mean? I'm breaking up with you. Silence. Complete silence. Several seconds later Tyler actually chuckled. Elaine. You've said that before. You always calm down after a day or two. You'll regret saying it. I realized then. He genuinely believed I'd never leave him. Because for 3 years. I never had. I won't. I hung up. This time, I blocked his number. Then his messages. Then every social media account. One by one. When Tyler tried calling again, all he heard was, "The number you have dialed cannot be reached." His expression darkened. He switched to WeChat. Message failed. Red exclamation mark. Blocked. For the first time in years. He felt a strange emptiness. He immediately called Isabel. "Did Elaine contact you?" "No. She's blocked me." Isabel was startled. "Blocked?" Tyler rubbed his temples. "She's probably just emotional. I'll give her some time." Isabel hesitated before saying, "Tyler. What if this time she's serious?" He froze. Then shook his head. "No. Elaine wouldn't. She loves me too much." Meanwhile, I was standing at the airport. Not to chase Tyler. Not to see him off. But to pick someone up. Passengers streamed through the arrival gate. Then a tall man in a black coat pushed his suitcase into the terminal. The moment he saw me, he stopped walking. His eyes reddened almost instantly. I smiled. "Long time no see, Raymond." He abandoned his suitcase right there. In 3 quick strides, he stood in front of me. He looked me over from head to toe as though making sure I was truly unharmed. Only then did he ask in a hoarse voice, "Did he make you cry?" I shook my head. "He doesn't matter anymore." Raymond stared at me for several seconds. Then, with trembling restraint, he opened his arms. "May I?" Looking at the man who had waited for me all these years. At the man whose first concern hadn't been whether I would marry him, but whether I had been hurt. My eyes filled with tears again. This time, I stepped forward on my own. Raymond wrapped me carefully in his arms, as though holding something precious that had finally found its way back. He whispered, "You're home now. And for the first time in a very long while." Those words actually felt true. Raymond didn't hold me for long. Just long enough for me to stop shaking. Then he stepped back first, handing me a clean handkerchief. "I promised myself years ago," he said with a crooked smile, "that if I ever got another chance to hug you, it wouldn't be because you were crying." I laughed through my tears. "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize." He picked up his suitcase again as if nothing extraordinary had happened. "So. I've been on a 13-hour flight. I'm starving. Would the future Mrs. Simmons be willing to have dinner with me?" I blinked. "You still want to marry you?" He smiled. "I never withdrew the offer. But only if it's because you want to. No pity. No revenge. No trying to prove something to Tyler. I've waited this long. I can wait a little longer." My chest tightened. This was the difference. Tyler always decided what was best for me. Raymond asked what I wanted. I nodded. "Dinner sounds good." 2 days later, Tyler's flight landed overseas. The first thing he did after turning on his phone was check whether I'd unblocked him. Nothing. He frowned. Still angry. Before he could think further, Isabel walked over, dragging her suitcase. "Our apartment is this way." Tyler nodded absent-mindedly. The university had arranged neighboring apartments for graduate students. Their buildings were less than 5 minutes apart. As they checked in, Tyler instinctively reached for his phone again. Nothing. No messages. Not even the usual, "Have you landed safely?" For 3 years. I had never once forgotten. His chest suddenly felt strangely empty. Back home, I submitted my resignation. My manager looked shocked. "Elaine, another company offered you more?" I smiled. "No. I'm moving." "Moving where?" I paused. "To a city where I won't keep running into memories." The manager sighed. "You've always been one of our best employees. If you ever want to come back, the door's open." "Thank you. That evening, Raymond drove me back to my parents' house. My mother opened the door. The moment she saw him, her eyes widened. Raymond? Then she looked at me. Then back at him. You too. Raymond immediately stood straight. Auntie. I'm here to pursue Elaine properly. I know she's only recently become single. I won't pressure her. But I'd like your permission to court her. My mother covered her mouth. She had always liked Raymond. Years ago, before Tyler appeared. Everyone had assumed Raymond and I would eventually get together. Only I had insisted on chasing the person I loved. She sighed softly. If Elaine agrees. Then I have no objections. Raymond looked at me. I'll take that as permission to apply. I couldn't help laughing. You make it sound like a job interview. It's more difficult than one. 3 weeks passed. Tyler buried himself in research. Every evening, Isabel would knock on his door. Want dinner? Sure. Coffee? Thanks. Need help running the simulation? Perfect timing. Everything flowed naturally. Exactly as it always had. Yet. Every night, when Tyler returned to his apartment. It was silent. No slippers by the door. No warm light left on for him. No bowl of fruit cut into little cubes because he hated peeling them himself. No voice asking. You're home? One night, after working until 2 in the morning, he instinctively called out. Elaine, do we still have instant coffee? Only silence answered him. He stood frozen in the kitchen. Then, almost mechanically, he opened the cupboard. It was empty. He remembered. I had stocked everything. I had labeled every jar. I had even written expiration dates because he never remembered. Without me. His perfectly organized life suddenly seemed full of little inconveniences. For the first time, Tyler realized that while he had always believed Elaine would handle it, she had quietly become the foundation that supported his everyday life. And for the first time, a sliver of unease crept into his heart. What if she really wasn't coming back this time? A month later, Tyler finally couldn't ignore the unease anymore. He opened our old chat history. The last message I had sent before blocking him was still there. Take care of yourself. At the time, he'd skimmed past it, assuming it was another dramatic farewell. Now, staring at those 4 words, they suddenly felt final. He clicked on my profile. Nothing. My profile picture was gone. My moments were hidden. He couldn't see anything. After hesitating for a long while, he sent a friend request. It disappeared into the void. No response. He called my parents' house. My mother answered. Hello? Auntie, it's Tyler. There was a brief silence. Then her tone cooled. What is it? I'd like to speak with Elaine. She doesn't want to. Is she still angry? My mother let out a quiet sigh. Tyler. Do you know what she did after moving out of your apartment? He didn't answer. She spent an entire day sorting through everything she'd bought for you. The books she picked because she thought you'd enjoy them. The coffee machine you mentioned once in passing. The winter scarf she knitted herself because you always forgot to wear one. She didn't throw any of it away. She donated most of it. She said that if the owner didn't want it anymore, there was no point keeping it. Every word landed heavily in Tyler's chest. She donated it? Yes. And after that, she cried. But only for one night. The next morning, she got up, smiled, and started planning her new life. My mother's voice became gentler. Tyler. She isn't waiting for you anymore. The line went dead. That night, Tyler couldn't sleep. Instead, memories kept surfacing. The first winter after we'd started dating. He'd complained once that his apartment was too cold. A week later, thick curtains had appeared. He'd never asked where they came from. The time he'd forgotten his birthday because of an experiment. I'd secretly invited all his classmates. Everyone praised him for having such a thoughtful girlfriend. He'd only smiled and said, Elaine likes doing these things. As though none of it had required effort. As though everything had simply appeared. He'd taken so much for granted that he no longer noticed the person quietly making his life warmer. Across the ocean, Isabel noticed him becoming increasingly distracted. "You've been staring at your phone for 10 minutes. Tyler looked up. "Have I?" She nodded. "You've done it every day this week." He remained silent. Finally, Isabel put down her notebook. "Tyler. I think you miss Elaine." He frowned instinctively. "I just haven't gotten used to living alone." Isabel looked at him for a long moment. "Is there really a difference?" The question caught him completely off guard. Before he could answer, she continued. "I've been thinking about what Elaine said. You two suit each other. At first, I thought she misunderstood us. But now..." She smiled bitterly. "I think we both misunderstood her." Tyler's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "We kept saying we were just friends. And that's true. I've never wanted to date you. You've never confessed to me. But..." She looked out the window. "We crossed boundaries without realizing it. You watched movies with me before asking your girlfriend. I brought you coffee almost every day. I knew your schedule better than Elaine did. You defended me before listening to her. Whether we meant to or not. We kept giving each other the place that should have belonged to your partner." The room fell silent. Each sentence struck Tyler harder than the last. He opened his mouth. Then closed it again. Because he couldn't refute a single word. After a long time, he whispered. "Was I really that blind?" Isabel gave a tired laugh. "We both were." She stood and picked up her bag. "From tomorrow on, I'll stop coming over. We're colleagues. Let's keep it at that." She paused at the door. "And Tyler, if you still love Elaine, don't chase her because you suddenly feel lonely. Only chase her if you finally understood why she left." The door clicked shut. Tyler sat alone in the apartment. For the first time in his life, the silence wasn't peaceful. It was deafening. Tyler didn't contact me again. Not because he'd given up. Because, for the first time, he understood he had no right. 3 months later. Raymond stood outside my office building at exactly 6 o'clock. He wasn't holding flowers. He wasn't leaning against his car trying to look cool. He was carrying 2 paper bags. The moment he saw me, he smiled. "I wasn't sure if you'd eaten. So I bought both." I peeked inside. One bag held sushi. The other contained a steaming container of spicy noodle hot pot. I blinked. "You remembered? You always ordered the spiciest broth." He scratched the back of his neck. "I tried it once. It nearly killed me. But I figured if I was going to court you, I'd better learn to enjoy what you enjoy." I laughed so hard that people walking by turned to look. "You don't have to force yourself." "I'm not." He shrugged. "I still think it smells terrifying. But eating with you is worth it." Those simple words warmed me more than any grand confession ever had. Our relationship progressed slowly. Raymond never assumed. Never decided things for me. If he wanted to hold my hand, he'd ask. If work kept me late, he'd simply text. "I'll be nearby if you need me. If not, have a good evening." There was never any pressure. Never any guilt. Somehow, that made me want to move closer to him on my own. Meanwhile, overseas, Tyler's research project won an international award. The laboratory erupted into cheers. His advisor patted him on the shoulder. "Excellent work." His teammates insisted on celebrating. Someone asked, "Tyler, call your girlfriend. She'll be thrilled." The room suddenly became quiet. Tyler lowered his eyes. "We're no longer together." Everyone exchanged awkward glances. One classmate finally said, "You two always seemed so stable." Tyler gave a faint, bitter smile. "I thought so too." That evening, after the celebration, he walked home alone. His phone buzzed. For one reckless second, His heart jumped. Elaine? Instead, it was Isabel. Congratulations. He replied. Thanks. Nothing more. Neither of them suggested dinner. Neither of them brought coffee. Neither of them visited the other's apartment anymore. Exactly as they'd agreed. Tyler suddenly understood something. His relationship with Isabel had returned to what ordinary friendship should have looked like all along. Which meant the version they'd once called normal had never really been normal. Half a year after the breakup, Raymond took me to a small art exhibition. As we wandered through the gallery, he suddenly stopped in front of a painting. It showed two people walking side by side. Not holding hands. Not embracing. Just walking in the same direction. Raymond smiled. I like this one. Why? Because neither person is walking ahead. They're matching each other's pace. I stared at the painting for a long time. Without realizing it, tears gathered in my eyes. For 3 years, I'd spent all my energy trying to catch up with someone who kept telling me not to follow. Now, someone was quietly slowing down so we could walk together. Raymond noticed my silence. If you don't like it, we can go. I shook my head. I love it. That night, he drove me home. Before I got out of the car, he called my name. Elaine. I've been courting you for 6 months. I know you're still healing. I also know love can't be rushed. He took a slow breath. So I only have one question. He looked at me with the same patience he'd shown from the very beginning. Would you like to officially be my girlfriend? No ring. No audience. No pressure. Just a question. I smiled. Then, for the first time since ending my relationship with Tyler, I answered without any hesitation. Yes. Raymond's eyes lit up with unmistakable joy. He didn't immediately hug me. Instead, he asked with a grin. May I hug my girlfriend now? Laughing through happy tears, I opened my arms first. You may. As he embraced me, neither of us noticed that across the street, a taxi had just stopped at a red light. Inside the back seat sat Tyler. He had returned home early for a conference. By pure coincidence, he looked out the window at that exact moment. And watched the woman he'd once believed would always be waiting for him smile at another man in a way she had never smiled at him. Tyler sat frozen in the back seat. The traffic light turned green. The taxi drove on. He never called out my name. He never got out of the car. He simply watched until the two figures disappeared from view. For the first time, he understood something that came far too late. Love wasn't something that stayed simply because it had once existed. It had to be chosen. Protected. Returned. And he had failed to do all three. A week later, Tyler asked to meet me. Not to get back together. Just once. To apologize. I agreed. We met at the little cafe near the university where we'd had our first date. When I arrived, he was already there. There were no flowers. No dramatic speeches. He stood as I sat down. You look well, he said quietly. I am. He nodded. I'm glad. The waiter brought coffee. For a long while, neither of us spoke. Finally, Tyler broke the silence. I used to think loving someone meant planning what was best for them. I thought I was protecting you. I kept telling myself not to let you sacrifice your future for me. He laughed bitterly. But I never asked what kind of future you wanted. I decided for you. I listened to Isabel before I listened to you. I crossed boundaries I didn't even notice. And every time you were hurt, I told you that you were imagining things. His eyes were slightly red. I'm sorry. I know an apology can't fix anything. I just didn't want the last thing I ever said to you to be that you were overreacting. I looked at him quietly. For a long moment. Then I smiled. I accept your apology. His shoulders trembled ever so slightly. But I continued gently. I don't forgive the relationship. He lowered his head. I know. We weren't wrong because of Isabel. We were wrong because every time I reached out, you expected me to adjust instead. He closed his eyes. You're right. I loved the version of you who never complained. And I didn't notice I'd become the reason you stopped smiling. Neither of us spoke again for a while. Then I stood. I should go. Tyler rose as well. Elaine. I turned. I hope. He smiled sadly. The next person deserves you. I returned the smile. He does. This time. There were no tears. Only relief. 2 years later. The wedding was small. Only family and close friends attended. Raymond still looked nervous standing at the altar. When I reached him, he whispered, I've negotiated billion-dollar contracts. But this is the most anxious I've ever been. I couldn't help laughing. The officiant smiled. Are you ready? Raymond looked at me instead of the officiant. More than anything. When it came time to exchange vows, he said only one promise. I won't walk ahead of you. I won't ask you to walk behind me. We'll walk together. It wasn't poetic. It wasn't elaborate. But it was exactly what I'd once spent years wishing someone would say. I do, I answered. Months later, an international science journal published Tyler's latest research. His name appeared first. Isabel's appeared second. Their work was celebrated around the world. At the end of the press conference, a reporter smiled. You and Dr. Sanchez have worked together for years. Many people online say you're the perfect match. Tyler smiled politely. We're good colleagues. And good friends. Nothing more. Another reporter asked. Then are you seeing anyone? He paused. Then shook his head. No. I missed the person I wanted to spend my life with. There won't be another story like that. Isabel glanced at him before looking away. She understood. Some regrets were meant to be carried, not erased. On a quiet Sunday afternoon, Raymond and I were cleaning out old boxes in our new home. At the bottom of one box was a faded movie ticket. The same one that had once broken my heart. I stared at it for a few seconds. Then smiled. Raymond looked over. Keep it? I thought about it. Then shook my head. No. I tore it neatly in half and dropped it into the recycling bin. Not because I hated the past. But because I no longer lived there. Raymond slipped his hand into mine. Ready? I smiled back. Ready. Together, we walked into the kitchen to finish unpacking our new life. This time, neither of us